The BOOcast Synth of the Month is... Hold on. How well do you remember 2002? Do you remember the phone you had? Here's mine. Here's the computer I had access to. This was my DAW, but do you own anything digital from 2002 that you still use? That still even works? The BOOcast Synth of the Month is the 2002 Korg MicroKorg. 20 years ago, Korg took the sound engine from their MS-2000, released in 2000, and popped it into a tiny box with wooden end cheeks and 7 Moogie knobs, and a legend was born. Sitting in the window of Turnkey on Charing Cross Road, it looked, to me anyway, like the cutest thing I'd ever seen since a Casio VL1, and I grabbed one. And I used it live all over the place. And I wasn't alone. Throughout the mid-noughties, it was turning up on stages everywhere. Whenever some band or other wanted a bit of synth in their sound, there it was. And it went on to be one of the most successful synthesizers ever made, giving thousands of people their first taste of analog-style sound creation. Tiny, battery-powered, and easy to use, you can see why. And we still use ours all the time.
And here is our rather beat up old MicroKorg, and it's had its end cheeks taken off, and it's as ever covered in stickers. This has been with us for years, and in fact it was with me since about 2005, and it still works. So just to see what's going on inside here, let's quickly initialize it, and we do that by pressing Shift and 3 and press 3 again to initialize it, and it gives us a sawtooth. So the MicroKorg is 4-note polyphonic, and it's programmed using this matrix of parameters here, which looks a bit ugh. However, it's not quite as difficult and horrible as it might at first appear, and the way we start up a sound is we use these 2 knobs to access these various parameters here, and these 5 knobs along the top allow us to adjust the settings of each of these parameters. And so we start with a voice, so it takes us to here, voice. You can choose between a synth and a vocoder, because this thing is a vocoder as well. Not a very good vocoder though, you can't understand anything through it, but sometimes it's useful for non-vocal vocoderizing. Then you can choose whether it's going to be a single or a layered preset. What the MicroKorg allows us to do is to create a synth sound, and then create another synth sound and have them piled on top of each other. This doesn't mean it's multi-timbral, but it does mean that you can get quite complicated little sounds in there, although that reduces the polyphony to 2. So let's go for single at the moment. Voice assigned, so we can choose polyphonic, unison, or mono. So let's go for a poly sound. Pitch, we can transpose it. And there's a fine tune control. Whoop, ha, the knob just came off. Portamento, which is polyphonic. Now the thing about the portamento is it's got a fixed speed, so it takes the same amount of time to go from the top of the keyboard to the bottom as it does from just a semitone. It's so yeah, it's a little bit tricky to make certain preset sounds with portamento on it. And the vibrato intensity. Now, Oscillator 1. So the first controller is telling us which wave we want to use. So the first wave we can have is a sawtooth. Now it's not exactly the most corpulent sawtooth, but hey, there it is. We get to mangle the shape of the sawtooth. It's like you can do pulse width on the sawtooth as well. Anyway, so let's go to square. The pulse width modulation is linked to LFO1. Let's go back to 3-0. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to go back and forward between parameters. Although you can really only edit one parameter at a time, clicking back and forward isn't so much of a hardship. It's kind of all right, you get used to it. So then we've got a triangle, which again has some wave folding. I should really get the manual out and remind myself what it's actually doing. the triangle. The next waveform is the sine, which that's definitely wavefolding. Oh, incredibly noisy. Oh, what is that? Is that... Sounds like FM. Sounds like FM, doesn't it? So yeah, the quality's not exactly brilliant, but there's a lot of flexibility here. Let's go back to... Now with Dig, we've got a selection of waveforms which have been lifted from the Korg DW8000 from 1985. These are a bit like wavetables, but you can't morph between them. They are single cycle samples of various sounds, and we can... So they are all listed on the manual somewhere. I have no idea where the manual is. So quite usefully, some of these waveforms already, as you can hear, have... Well, that one's got a fifth in it. Various belly. Kind of organy. I'm just going to go to the amp envelope now to give us a sort of bell. That's better. So even without any filtering, without anything going on here, this is just the waveform going through a very simple envelope. Hey, it's Christmas. Let's keep going. Slightly more, well, almost bell. Again, another some voice formants. And that's it for Oscillator 1. So yeah, there's a hell of a lot going on there. And I really like the digital waveforms. I use them a lot. In fact, let's go to A Delia, A22. This is a sound I've been using for ages. I made it years ago. Every so often I like to pull it out. Whoa, bit of... And that's the inbuilt delay, which is set to stereo, left and right ping pong. You can muck with it while you're playing. That sounds like a band pass filter. So that's Oscillator 1. Unfortunately, we can't automate this. So on to Oscillator 2. Now to hear Oscillator 2, we have to go first to the mixer. Oscillator 1 level, Oscillator 2 level. Oscillator 2 is off. Let's turn it on. And Oscillator 1, we'll turn it right down. So Oscillator 2 is slightly simpler. We've only got saw, square, but we do have oscillator mod. So we've got ring with an amount and sync and a pitch and a combination of ring and sync. Let's change that. That works on all of the waveforms. square, and triangle. That's all we've got for there, but we do have the semitone control and the tune control. So we'll just go back into the mixer and bring up Oscillator 1 so we can tune it. So we can do a little bit of detune there. Or we can sort of turn it into a sub. Fifths. But if we go back to Oscillator 1 and choose one of those digital waveforms with a chord in it. So there we've got the fifths. Turn Oscillator 2 back up. And back to Oscillator 2 and tune it. So we've got a major chord there. Minor chord. Then we've already said we've got a mixer here, so there's Oscillator 1 level, Oscillator 2 level. Also in the mixer, we've got a noise level, so it's another filter. The first model is a 24 dB low-pass filter. I mean, you can hear that's an early digitally modelled filter, can't you? Let's bring up the resonance. It does lose the low as you boost the resonance. We've also got 12 dB low. Which might sound a bit better. Bandpass. High pass. So the filter gives us the type to cut off the resonance, filter EG amount, obviously, so that's how much the filter envelope's going. So we've got two envelopes here, the filter EG, attack, decay, sustain, release. So go back to the amount, we're up at full, 63. Let's bring down the resonance. The amp section, so we've got an overall level of the whole thing. Let's keep that full. Pan, so we pan it to the left, pan it to the right. Why would you want to do that? Yeah, you'll see. We've got distortion. There's no level on this distortion, it's just off or on, and it's all dependent on the initial level. And then there's the amplifier, attack, decay, sustain, release. Then we've got two LFOs. So the LFO1 and LFO2 have exactly the same settings. I'll go to LFO2 because it's controlling the pitch via the mod wheel. Let's slow it down. And let's go back up the top here. You see, I'll go back and forward. Back to pitch and vibrato amount. Let's boost it. So there's the first one, which is saw. We can also, with pitch, we can go into negative, square, sine, and sample and hold. So that's all from this one knob here controlling these ones, and then we've got the other bit. On Edit Select 2, we've got these four patches, which are modulation matrix things, and you can select the source as filter envelope, the amplifier envelope, LFO1, LFO2, velocity from the keyboard, tracking, which is keyboard tracking, bend wheel, or the mod wheel. And we can send it to pitch, tuning of oscillator 2, cut off, amp, pan, and LFO2. So I'll just take this. So we've got some delay on here, but I'll just take LFO1. We'll send it to pan, put it on maximum. So now the LFO is panning that sound around. There are 4 of those, and you can use them all simultaneously. So now we've got some effects. So we've got a flanger, speed, depth, ensemble. It's kind of a chorusing thing. So we have a phaser. And there's also delay, so we've got straight delay, delay feedback level, speed, and it's quite flexible, it does that bending around thing. And there's a left to right ping pong delay. Also got the arpeggios here. And while we're playing, these knobs become sort of macros, and this one defaults to cut off. When you're just in play mode, this one's the resonance. This is attack time. And this is the release time. So although the synth editing is a bit of a faff, possibly, while you're playing you do have a little bit of more easy hands-on control of what are generally the most used parameters. So it's got a lot in it. It's not a bad little synth. Sound quality is okay, and you've got all of those parameters under your fingertips. And this synth is one of the best-selling synths ever made. Basically, when it came out in 2002, apparently Korg got a lot of reviews saying, "Oh, nobody's going to buy that." And then, like in the mid-2000s, you know, everybody had one. I mean, they were just everywhere. Every single band that wanted a bit of cheap synthesizer action in them would have one of these on stage. And even like bands that had like lots of expensive synthesizers would have one of these on stage. You just see them there all the time. So this synth engine has quite a lot of flexibility, complexity, all the different waveforms you can get and the digital waveforms. Plus, you can choose to have it as a layered sound. So you can have 2 synth engines, one on top of the other, such as for sounds like this. Which is, yeah, I'll name that tune, basically the bass and the high bit from Wazawa. And it's really flexible, and just despite the menu diving and the parameters you have to go through, it's actually very easy to program. See, one of the first things I did was cover up these genre banks because I found them really off-putting. I very rarely use this in recordings, but there is one sound. This one, which is on our song The Sea. And with this sound, we've got one of the layers panned to the left and the other one panned to the right. Some of the original sounds that came with it are actually pretty good. But you're not going to use them, are you? So these are largely overwritten. There it is. Happy birthday, MicroKorg. 20 years. Excellent.